Welcome back to our series on the social consequences of engineering design and engineered products. In this session, we will look specifically at social issues within and beyond the supply chain, focusing specifically on companies, corporations, and private enterprise, and how they contribute positively or negatively to society. In previous sessions, we have focused on social consequences within the product supply chain by evaluating the social responsibility and capabilities of countries to support their inhabitants. In this session, we look within and beyond the supply chain at how particular companies can support better social consequences for their own business practices. As with country-based assessment of social responsibility, company-based assessment of social responsibility is offered by a range of government and non-government organizations. In this overview, we will look at just one example of what it looks like when a company is assessed for the level of social responsibility within its business practice. The Corporate Social Responsibility Hub, or CSR, pulls data from over 500 heterogeneous sources, including Newsweek's ranking of green companies, all the way to Thomson Reuters data. CSR Hub aggregates and normalizes this data across industries, and then weighs the resulting data to arrive at 4 indices representing the environment, employees, community, and governance practices of a company, and an overall score meant to represent the company's overall sense of and success at being socially responsible. For starters, the Environment Index in the CSR score represents a comprehensive look at how a company treats and interacts with the natural environment. This category of the CSR score includes how it conserves energy and mitigates climate change through energy-efficient operations, reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, and use of alternative or renewable energy sources. This index also considers how well the company complies with environmental regulations and discloses risk and liability for environmental damage, including air and water pollution, as well as sustainable development. The next of the 4 categories in the CSR score is that which considers the employees of a company and considers a myriad of workplace factors, including safety, diversity, fair treatment, and comprehensive benefits. This index basically seeks to capture how well an employee is treated, as well as how consistently employees are treated, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or rank. The third of the 4 categories in the CSR score is community, which covers all communities in which the company does business, whether on U.S. or foreign soil. Does the company make efforts to support the local community in which it does business through philanthropy or other development programs? Does it seek to understand both the benefit and harm that its products bring to the social fabric of society? Does it strive to protect human rights in its own supply chain? The CSR score in this category seeks to express how well a company achieves positive impacts on the communities of influence that fall within its business practices. Finally, the last of the 4 categories in the CSR score evaluates leadership and governance. Do the executives behave consistently and in an ethical manner? Are their decisions and decision-making, as well as the processes and policies of the organization, transparent? Do the annual reports and other formal documents make this transparency accessible to all? Is the governance of the company stable, ethical, capable, and fair? Leadership is no small part of the social responsibility in an organization, and for this reason is included in its own separate category in the CSR score. Now that we've looked briefly at each of the 4 categories in the CSR score, community, environment, employees, and governance, let's take a look at what the CSR evaluation looks like for a particular company. To do this, we'll start by going to csrhub.com. Once we're at the website, at the home page, we can just type in the company we're interested in, and we'll get a few choices here. In this case, we'll select Intel Corporation as an example. And what's produced are multiple metrics. First, we see a score for community, employees, governance, and environment, all of which collectively make up the overall CSR rating compared to other companies. And then we have the company's rating graphically presented, both relative to all other companies in the CSR rating, as well as other companies, in this case 338 companies in the semiconductor industry. We also have some special notes associated with the company, special issues that affect the company, and other possible sources of information should we choose to go deeper into understanding Intel Corporation. Now, with these 4 scores and the overall CSR score, we can attempt to compare different organizations using both the overall score, CSR rating, as well as the individual scores for the 4 different categories within CSR ratings. While all of these scores for Intel Corporation are above average, perhaps we'd like to compare these scores to other competitive companies within the same industry. As an example, we can look at the ratings for advanced micro devices. Now here, when we compare these 2 companies, we find that we have some level of understanding of how they compare in social responsibility. The 2 scores, overall ratings of 64 and 66, seem quite comparable, and at first glance, the CSR or social responsibility for these 2 corporations appear to be right on the same level. Digging a little deeper, however, we find that the employees' score for Intel is considerably higher than AMD at 73 compared to advanced micro devices at 67. This would imply that Intel treats its employees better and is definitely important to an engineer seeking employment within these 2 organizations. In this next example, we look at 3 companies that supply integrated circuits to the many engineers and product designers who use electronics in their designs. In this example, there are large differences in the overall CSR and category scores of the 3 companies, Texas Instruments, Analog Devices, and National Semiconductor. This makes it easy, if so desired, to choose a more socially responsible organization to source electronic components, both during and beyond the design process. In this session, we have looked at how private industry is evaluated for its overall impact on society. The social consequences of doing business in a globalized workplace are not only on the rise, but the expectation and pressure from external stakeholders to do something to minimize negative and improve positive consequences is also growing. As more companies join the effort to be increasingly social responsible, it becomes more of a necessity than an option to participate. Whether at the corporate leadership level or within the many ranks of workers that make a company successful, including its engineers. Taking conscientious action to be more socially responsible has the obvious benefit of bolstering a company's image, but when expanded to include employees as well, can also make an organization more appealing to potential employees and thereby increase the quality of its workforce. Socially responsible choices can also make a difference in supporting global economic growth and support a new generation of professional ethics. Last but not least, the choice to become socially responsible, along with subsequent reporting of those choices, satisfies an increasing oversight by non-government and government organizations alike. This concludes our brief overview of the social consequences of doing business both within and beyond the supply chain. In some cases, such as sourcing components and making decisions along the supply chain, engineers have a direct influence on social responsibility. In others, engineers have an important voice in directing and defining corporate leadership regarding the social consequences of what is engineered, made, and marketed within the company's business practices. Thank you for joining us today. We certainly hope that this look into the world of social consequences has been valuable and that you'll join us again as we look at other real-world considerations in engineering design.